Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, we're going to learn something new. It's all about self-hosting. And self-hosting, the most troublesome program I've ever tried to host in my life before, Ghost. So, come on, you might as well suffer right along with me. Now, folks, I've been around a long time. I've been in computers a long time. I've been playing around with web hosting and CMS programs and everything. And so I like to challenge myself. I've always been a big fan of, before I get off on some tangent, of self-hosting. Now, and I mean everything. I mean self-hosting your own emails. There's just, the internet was designed for you to be a highway to your house, not to take all your furniture and put it in a rental and you go occasionally visit that furniture. That's what the cloud is, right? It's like you're buying another little rental on the internet highway, and you're storing your stuff there, and you go and visit it every once in a while and pay somebody an exorbitant amount of money to host it for you. Why would you do that? There's no benefit in that. I would rather host my own stuff, control my own destiny. Now, a lot of ISPs don't make that an easy thing to do, but over the past few years, it's been easier with dynamic DNS and that kind of thing. Now, CGNAT is a whole other story. I'm not going to get into that. But for a person in my situation, where I run a business and I have the availability of a public IP address, there would be no, and all this equipment, there's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't self-host most of what I have. And that's the whole idea behind today's video. Now, I've been on the quest for the easiest to use website blogging software I could find, and I finally found it, and it's called Ghost. It's so easy, even a 60-year-old man can figure out how to use it. What a 60-year-old man couldn't figure out how to do was how to self-host it. I just couldn't wrap my primitive brain around it until I put everything, all my other work aside and focused on it. So this has been a work in progress for months. In fact, I got so frustrated with it, I finally paid a company to host my Ghost site, and now I don't need to do that because today I've been able to finally figure it out. So I wanted to document the process to save you a lot of time and a lot of effort if you're looking at doing the same thing. Now, Ghost is just a simple web hosting platform. It allows me to post some articles, get in and get out, post my information on my website. I can have a newsletter to where all you folks who sign up on it can get notified of new videos or articles that I'm posting on the website. And it really gets the hell out of my way. But it's written in Node.js. So it's not a typical NGINX or Apache web server. You can't use those. And where I was getting confused was, as part of the Ghost install, they include NGINX. They don't just assume that you have a proxy server like I do. What the reverse proxy allows me to do is share that one public IP address I have with any number of virtual hosts on this side without having to open a bunch of ports. And I really like that idea. So I had to wrap my primitive ape brain and come to the right articles and finally have that epiphany that, oh, you're doing it wrong. Add to that the fact that turns out my reverse proxy server was about 160 days old. I hadn't updated it recently. And I didn't realize that the way I was doing my SSL certs, which was through port 80, to get authenticated by Let's Encrypt, is now not, I guess it's not being supported because I finally went into just utter confusion and dismay. I went into the log files on the proxy manager because I couldn't get an SSL cert for this website. What the hell is going on? And it told me that you had too many recurring notifications. So with the help of Grok, and let me just tell you, Grok sent me down a couple of rabbit holes, but without its help, I wouldn't have been able to figure this out. And kudos to Grok, it told me it was proxy manager the whole time. That what I had done on Ghost was fundamentally correct. There was no reason it shouldn't be working, that my problem lied with the proxy manager. But I denied it, and I yelled at Grok for about 3 hours and finally went to lunch, came back and decided to listen. I went to renew a certificate for another website that I have on there on my reverse proxy, and sure enough, same thing. So don't assume. But the point is, boys and girls, that I got it up and running. I'm going to show you how I did it. It's fairly simple. So if you've ever wanted to self-host a landing zone for your little website or whatever you want to do, I love Ghost. It's just, if, like I said, if I can figure it out. And this is going to be like stepping stones. So now that I've wrapped my head around how to host this, there are other things that I want to host. I don't host my own email, but we'll have a whole separate video about why that is. But I want to host some forum software, and I might want to host some file sharing, and I might want to host my videos and share them with other people, that kind of thing. So stepping stones. But I'm going to show you how I did it here now, and then we'll come back, talk a little bit more about it after that's done. Pre-qualifiers. So first of all, you need either a public IP or you need to have dynamic DNS set up. If your IP address changes, I don't know, you're not going to be able to use this with CGNAT. Let's see, do you have to open any ports? That's a good question. I don't think so, because I'm using NGINX Proxy Manager. So I believe and now I'm getting my SSL certificates through Cloudflare and their DNS authentication. So I don't know that you're going to need to open any ports for this to work either. But anyway, this is the way I'm going to self-host Ghost. And Ghost is kind of a squirrely little program because there's not a lot of instructions out there on how to do it simply and to do it right from the beginning, or to do it. Well, they always assume that you're going to use the NGINX server built into Ghost. We're not going to do that today. We're going to build Ghost, but we're going to build it without NGINX. So I'm going to show you how that happens. So normally I would tell you to do this on a Debian machine, but because I learned it on Ubuntu, we're going to do it on Ubuntu today. So I have on my Proxmox server an Ubuntu template that I'm just going to right click and clone. I'm going to give it a number of, let's see, I'm keeping Linux in the 800 series. We'll do 830. And this will be UB2404-001. It is going to be a full clone. We're going to put it on plenty of storage there. Click clone. It shouldn't take but a few seconds to do that. All right, so the virtual machine has been created over here, and it's just a simple 4 gig machine with 4 cores, and I left a normal standard BIOS instead of complicating my life with UEFI. And I've got it on the same network as my production, so my 5 subnet. I'm going to go in here and go ahead and start it. Now, the first thing I want to do is change the host name of this machine. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and expand it here. Now, I've already created an account that I created this Ubuntu install with. There we go. So the first thing, like I said, that we're going to want to do is change the host name. So let me find my little article here. And so the first thing you want to do, your host name is going to be right here. And you see it's UB2404 UJP local. I don't like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it up like this. We're going to do a sudo, host name ctl set host name, and then we'll call it UB2404-001. Enter our password. And there you go. And now what we ought to be able to do is type in hostname CTL, and we should see it's changed it now to 2404-001. However, we also want to go to sudo nano etc hosts, and we want to put it in there permanently. So UB 2404-001, Control X to save, yes, enter. And then now we're going to do a sudo -H, or a sudo reboot now. Sudo reboot. There we go. Sometimes I get confused back and forth between Debian and Ubuntu. They both do things a little bit differently. So now when we come up to the login name, we should have the correct domain name and or host name, and we do. So the next thing I'm going to do is get my IP address. Now, normally I would tell you on any server to go ahead and hard code the IP address, but we're going to just use 5.40, the one it was given. That's fine. I don't need a different IP. But normally, something like this, you would want to hard code just to be safe. Now, the rest of what I'm going to do, I'm going to do from a command prompt. So let me get that set up. And I'm going to use Windows PowerShell. Get this out of the way so you can see. So first of all, let's SSH Adama. And you know what? It's probably going to have the old certificate in there and not let me log in. Maybe. Okay, and it's let me log in. Cool, that's good. Now, what they tell you to do, I'm working off the Ghost documentation off of their website and following their instructions. So they would normally tell you to add a user and then give that user sudo rights. But Adama, Ubuntu does that on its own. So the first thing we need to do then is do the update. So sudo apt-get update. Then enter your sudo password that you entered when you set up Ubuntu. And then we'll do a sudo apt-get upgrade and let it install. Yeah, there's about 94K. As you can see, this one's pretty up to date. Go ahead and let it put its new stuff on there. Now, the next step is to install NGINX, but since we're going to be using our own NGINX proxy server, we don't really need to worry about that. But what we do want to do is install MySQL, so we'll do that next. Now, the one thing about Ghost is it uses, it does not use a standard NGINX web server, nor does it use Apache. It uses Node.js. It's a Node.js website, so we'll need to put that in as well. And there's some steps you need to be aware of when we do that. Trust me, you want to avoid all the stuff I went through. The other thing is we're not going to do best practices on MySQL. There are several articles out there that will tell you to create a new user and give that user permissions with MySQL, and that is the proper way to do it. but I'm going to follow along. Well, it's the supposed proper way to do it. I'm just following along with the Ghost documentation just to get us up and running. So the next thing we're going to do is run MySQL. So we'll sudo MySQL. And the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this line from their website right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come down here, and inside these little squidgies, we're going to enter our new password. And this is for the root user. So I didn't show the rest of that because I didn't want you to see what password I used. But suffice it to say, if you follow along on the instructions on their website, you'll be fine. So we're going to go ahead and run the apt update again. And then we're going to install our certificates for node source. And again, these instructions are on the website. I'm just basically copying and pasting. All right, let's see, where are we on my notes? And then we're going to create a repository so it'll know where to get the Node.js from. I'm going to paste that in there. Okay. And then we'll do another update so we can get that software. And then we'll install it. Now, remember I told you need to pay attention. We told it we wanted version 22 of Node.js. And so that is indeed what it's going to be installing. Is version 22. Okay, it looks like it's installed it. So now we can do, we can actually install Ghost. And then once we can download the NPM to install Ghost, and then we can install Ghost because we got some stuff to do. So now that we got that out of the way, we'll just copy and paste this one. So sudo npm install Ghost CLI latest -G, and that'll go out and download what it needs from the internet. Now, it's very important when you set it up that you have a domain name available. Or if you're not going to put it in production, if you're just going to use it locally, one of these steps I'm going to show you when we get to it is you can use a local IP address. That way you can get in and out of it and just test it. But make sure you already have a domain name registered and pointing to the proper IP in order to make all this work. Now, the other thing it's telling us is the NPM. There's been an update on the NPM version. We're not going to worry about it right now. So for all intents and purposes, we have now downloaded the Ghost software. So now what we need to do is we need to prepare for it. So we're going to create a directory. And I'm just going to call it Ghost. It's going to be under the var www directory. Then we're going to we're going to take ownership of it. So you need to know the name of your user. Fortunately, mine is right here. Both the user and the group, or we're going to change that to Adama. And don't forget to change the name of the directory. And now we need to set the correct permissions. So we're going to do chmod 775. on the var www ghost directory. Once you get to this point, for example, you could, with the power of Proxmox, take a snapshot so you don't have to get to this point again, and it'll be all ready for you. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. Let's just take a little snapshot of where we are, our point in time. Go here to backup, do a backup now. And then we can edit the notes on this to say, hey, we did this prior to the install or prior to the configuration of Ghost. So then in theory, you could create a template out of this thing and make any number of copies you wanted to. We're going to let that run. All right, so it's complete. So now we can come back to our command prompt here, and we can carry on with the rest of what we need to get it Ghost and running. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is, once we're in that directory, /www.ghost, we do it ls. Okay, there should be nothing in there. So now the next thing we do is Ghost install. Okay, and it should run it should verify you got Node.js in there, verify your permissions are correct, etc. And then it'll start to download Ghost, and this will take a few minutes. All right, so here's the part where you need to start paying attention. If you're going to want to run this in a production environment, you need to put your domain name in here, and I'll show you that. But if you're just going to run it in your lab, I would recommend you just put in http:// your IP address 23:2368 and use it internally in that way. Now, not everything's going to work on that. Like your mail within Ghost is not going to work, but it'll at least allow you to set it up locally and get in and get your feet wet. Okay. Now your mileage might vary. I haven't been using Ghost a long time, but these are just the things that I've done in the past that helped me learn. Now you can come back at any time and you can uninstall Ghost, wipe the database it was using, and reinstall Ghost within a matter of minutes and change that. So if you want to just do a test environment, you could, that's where that would come in handy. But for me, I don't want to install it again. And I'm going to use HTTPS. In fact, let me get on the window here. HTTPS : this is going to be the actual website for UnkyJoe'sPlayhouse.com. So I'm going to enter it there. The next thing it asks you is the IP address of your MySQL host or your MySQL host name. It's local, so we're going to use the loopback. The username, root. This is where we changed and entered that password. So hopefully you wrote that down somewhere and you gave your root user a password for MySQL. Now, very important you pay attention here. If you've already run setup, you want to choose a different database name than Ghost_production, because it's not going to overwrite if it's already there. You follow me? And you could have some trouble running the setup after we get this installed. So that's not my case. That's not my use case. I've never used this database name before, so we're just going to accept it. It's going to ask you, do you want to set up Ghost MySQL user? Yes, you do. And do you want to set up systemd? Yes, you do. And then do you want to start Ghost? Yes. And folks, it's that easy. Well, you got to do some stuff on your proxy manager too, but I'll show you that here in just a second. But we'll let Ghost go ahead and start up and run. So now it tells us Ghost was successfully installed. To complete the setup of your publication, visit, and then it gives me the IP address of my server. But stop, don't do that. No, wait. There is some other stuff we need to do, and if we don't do it, it's going to be a bad day. One thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to make sure that Ghost is listening on all interfaces, because by default, the Ghost is going to only listen on the loopback address. So one thing you'll want to do is enter this command here to tell it to listen on all IP addresses. And then the next thing you'll want to do is restart Ghost. This will take just a minute or so, and there you go. You've restarted Ghost. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is go into NGINX Proxy Manager, and I've already created one down here called UnkyJoesPlayhouse.com. We'll go edit that. And you probably want to copy this. You want to make sure your scheme is set to HTTP. Put the IP address of your server in here, mine is 5.40. This port is very important, 2368. You want to block common exploits, turn on WebSocket support, do not cache the asset, then go ahead and save it, and then open it back up, come in here, and go get your SSL certificate. Now, something I learned that I didn't know before is that my proxy manager was no longer able to use port 80 to get certificates validated, and that's quite all right. You're going to need to use a DNS provider that can provide you with an API key. And so I'm using Cloudflare, so that's not a problem. You basically come in here, and you'll enter, when you go to get your new key, your new SSL cert, you enter that key in there in the API, and bing, bang, boom, Bob's your uncle, you got it made. Once you've done that, then you'll come and you've gotten your certificate. You'll open this back up again one more time and make sure you turn on Force SSL, HTTP2 support, and HSTS enabled. In addition to that, you want to come in here and make sure you put these custom NGINX configuration commands in here, or none of this is going to work. I'll put these in the show notes because they're not included in the instructions with setting up Ghost with Ubuntu. It's just assumed you're going to use their internal NGINX proxy server. That's why they don't include it, but I will make sure to include it here. And then once you do that, you'll want to go out into a browser, and I'm going to open a new in private window. You're going to have one chance to do this. We can get in it if you spell it right. Now, since this is the actual website I'm going to be using, we're going to go ahead and give it a title. Unky Joe's Playhouse. My name. It's very important that you remember this login name or this email address and this password that you're going to give it, because there really is nowhere to go enter a password or change the password later. There is a way, but you're not going to like it. It's you have to go into SQL and edit the password, and they don't have what I would call Ghost is a very simple blogging web hosting platform. I love it. It's simple, it's clean, it's easy to configure, and it's easy to manage and maintain. And there you go. It is up. Okay? You know how I can tell? Because I can actually visit the site, and there it is. It is up and running. It was that easy or difficult, whichever way you want to call it. But there it is. It's up and running. Now, the next thing I want to do is see if it survives a reboot. So we'll see if it survives a reboot here. Come back over. Go to our console. All right, it's rebooted. So let's go over to our in private. We'll just go to UnkyJoesPlayhouse.com. And there you go. There's our website. Fantastic. It works. Yay. You don't realize how long it took me to get to this point. So that's it, folks. Perseverance pays off. And I'm going to pat myself on the back every time I don't have to pay that $12 a month for hosting. I still have to pay for electricity here, but the machines are already running. At least I'll have another job to do. And the beauty of this being a virtual machine is I can move it wherever I need it. If one of my Proxmox hypervisors break, I can just move it to another one without any problem at all. I'll set it as part of my regular recurring backups, and bing, bang, boom, Bob's your uncle, and it's just ready to go. There is no reason whatsoever not to self-host. Now, keeping that in mind, there might be a reason not to self-host, and that is if you're worried about, people getting a hold of your public IP. But there are ways around that. I use Cloudflare, and now I'm using them exclusively for my DNS. There's just no reason not to. I got all the whiz-bang features. And if I need hosting, like email and stuff like that, I'll just go through a third party. But it's just easier to go through Cloudflare. They can help you keep from getting your denial of service attacks and that kind of thing. So, but the beauty of self-hosting is that you control who comes into your kingdom. You control the data. It's end-to-end encrypted. It's not got anybody snooping in between it. Well, supposedly they can't. And I'm not reselling your information to any advertisers, nor will I ever. They don't, that database with your name and your whatever email address you send with me is just to get notifications for when the website updates. So for those of you that have signed up, great. For those of you that haven't, I encourage you to do so. www.unclejoesplayhouse.com or unclejoesplayhouse.com, either one, or unclejoesplayhouse.net. Actually, give the unclejoesplayhouse.com. We've got to now sync that with the net with the it's a whole thing. I'll make an announcement when it's time. But unclejoesplayhouse.com is not up and running yet. I'll turn it off so there's no confusion. But I just want to show you, if this old guy, granted it took me 3 or 4 months, but I've had other stuff to do in the meantime. If I can figure it out, there's no reason you can't. And hopefully some of you will find this video helpful, keep you from banging your head against the wall, because I was pretty close to it. So we hope you found the video entertaining and informative. As always, please give us a like, give us a dislike, leave your comments down in the comments section. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and click that little notification bell to be notified when a new video comes out. You wouldn't want to miss another one of Uncle Joe's videos now, would you? Don't forget to come back and see us donate if you're so inclined. PayPal, Patreon, YouTube join function. Go out to unclejoesplayhouse.com or .net. Our social media links are there, and our donation links are there. Appreciate it if you'd use them. That's it for now, and we hope to see all of you on the other side.
I've been watching old Uncle Joe. From Texas heat to where the cacti grow. Fixing server solar power in the land. Hoping that his plans all stand. Making life a touch more bright underneath those southern